Before I go any further, I just want to say that the footage I'm going to be showing for Wanderstop in this video is gameplay from a press preview that I got access to. It's been described as an extension of the demo that's coming out on February 24th of 2025, so a few weeks after the published date of this video. So if you'd rather avoid any minor spoilers and just want to know a quick thumbs up or thumbs down, it's an easy thumbs up for me. This game's going to be sick. That being said, there's not a ton to spoil that hasn't been shown in the trailers, but spoilers start now.
Years ago, I wrote and directed The Stanley Parable and The Beginner's Guide, and after finishing those games, I was unbelievably burnt out. Like, I seriously thought I might never write another narrative for games ever again. And so I decided that I wanted to make a cozy game.
That was Davey Wreden, who, as he said, wrote and directed both The Stanley Parable and The Beginner's Guide. Now, I, like most people, I imagine, was interested in Wanderstop from the get-go. But I was really excited by one thing and one thing alone: the return of Davey Wreden. The Beginner's Guide is this really beautiful, short little vignette of a game about creating things that I have a really awful video essay on that was my first real attempt at one of those. And The Stanley Parable is probably my favorite game, like, ever. But after he made those games, Davey disappeared for a while, and after a long while, he announced Ivy Road, and recently their first game together, Wanderstop. The Ivy Road announcement was awesome, not just because it meant more games by Davey, but also they got C418 to do the music. You know, the Minecraft guy. And to jump ahead a bit, the soundtrack was honestly one of the best parts of an extremely impressive early build. It felt like everywhere I went and everyone I talked to had their own unique little song, and it's all so pleasant and not at all what I would have expected out of the Minecraft OST guy. C418 has range. So what about the actual game though? One thing I always love is when a developer vastly underestimates what they've created. For the press preview build that I got, I was told about an hour of content, give or take, but could be longer if you putter around. I did not putter around, and it still took me almost 2.5 hours to get through the quote-unquote hour of content they gave us. This is fantastic and bodes really well for the full game, considering they estimate it to be about 10 to 15 hours if you bum rush the main content. That would feel wrong, though. The whole game is about slowing down, taking your time, and making some tea. And I'm so happy to say that they nailed the gameplay. There's very little fat on this game. Lots of fluff, but not much fat. What I mean by that is there's a lot to do, but not a lot that wastes your time. Everything has a purpose, and it feels really well connected. Take brewing tea, for example, the main game mechanic. In order to brew tea for yourself or a customer, or to... We'll talk about the pengus in a minute. To brew tea, though, you have to start from scratch. You go pick up tea leaves around the property, put them in the dryer to make tea balls. And then while that's going on, you can go gardening and make the different fruits you'll need as flavor for the tea, which in just the opening chapter here was already really fun. The plants have finite amounts of resources in them, but they can act as decorations once depleted if you want, or you can just chop them down like a heartless bitch. It's up to you. You start with the little plants, which you can water to get more seeds from, and then you do plant breeding with those seeds to get to the fruit plants. Following that progression, then you have to make the tea, and to do that, you have to go through the whole process of heating, brewing, steeping, and pouring the tea to give it to whoever wants it. Drinking the tea can be a self-contained experience where Alta lives through her memories evoked by what kind of tea she made, or trying to help someone else with their struggles and advance the different stories of characters that wander into the shop. Once that's over, though, there's more. Any extra tea you brewed, you can pour down into the drain at the bottom, and it feeds the tree that the tea machine is built into, growing flowers onto it, so there's no waste there. The dirty teacups go into this little train that washes them for you in a waterfall, so you aren't forced to do anything monotonous. And my favorite part is the pengus. Before I learned that you could pour the tea into the drain for the tree, I was pulling cups of tea for myself to drink and just to have around so as not to waste the rest of the pot. And when I had just set down a cup, I heard squeaking while I was doing something else. And when I had come back, the little pengu shits had stolen the cup of tea I'd set down and turned into the color of the tea they drank. I later learned that you can even dye them into these like moving patterns from specialties you brew. Every part of Wanderstop feeds into itself. It's all self-propelling, and I really enjoyed what Ivy Road put together. The mark of something like this being good for me, as someone that isn't really like a cozy game guy, is when I close the game, do I want to keep playing? When the build that I had access to ended, I was annoyed because I wanted to keep playing. It's the right amount of addictive. They thought of fucking everything too, because sometimes in these games you can get stuck on certain quests or not knowing what to do, so the game has a literal book of answers that can give you what you need to know to progress if you're stuck or just don't really want to figure it out yourself. Wanderstop is something I imagine would be fantastic to play on a Steam Deck, and they've already said that it'll be Steam Deck ready for launch. The 3D modeling and animations are all really cute, and nothing has the problem of being too slow, which can be an issue in this genre. This is a cozy game, but everything moves at a speed that lets you see the animation without it dragging out. 3D cozy games can be ugly as shit or gorgeous, and this is definitely leaning on the gorgeous side. Seeing art direction be fully realized in-game is something that cannot be said for a lot of titles, and it was something I was worried about when I saw the first trailer, but my worries were entirely unfounded. Same with the writing. I was curious what the sardonic wit I loved in Stanley Parable was going to look like through the lens of a cozy game, and without spoiling things, I think there's a great balance here. The characters are funny, like really funny. More than once, some of the dialogue got a genuine belly laugh out of me. Overall, I just really like what's here, and I'm just as excited as everyone else to get my hands on the full game. Davey Wreden and his team at Ivy Road are cooking. Speaking of Davey though, some of my favorite artists were limited in their output due to circumstances outside of their control. Joseph Heller wrote Catch-22, my favorite book, and then took 13 years to write another book. And nothing else he wrote was nearly as commercially successful as Catch-22. The New York Times has an article about Heller written when he passed, and while they don't say who the interviewer was, thanks journalists, they do share the anecdote that an interviewer said to Heller's face that he had never written anything better than Catch-22, and Heller apparently responded, "Who has?" I don't know if this is the last game Davey Wreden will be involved with, and I most definitely hope it isn't, but if it is, that's okay. All good things eventually come to an end. Our favorite books, shows, podcasts, games. I don't know what Wanderstop holds for us at the end of the game, but I just have this feeling that even when Alta settles on making tea as her path to happiness, that her time at Wanderstop might come to an end before the credits roll. It might just break the law of the cozy game. It might break the allowance we're given in Stardew and The Sims and the Coral Island and all those other games where you can complete the content and then play in perpetuity. Or it might not. Whatever happens, I'm excited to find out. Hey guys, just checking in here at the end of the video while the supporters scroll to give a big shout out to Jenny over at Ivy Road and the team at Popagenda. They were all super helpful with their correspondence, and it's like the 4th or 5th time now that Popagenda has been great to work with. And most importantly, I wanted to say genuinely thank you for watching. I'm going to be trying to make some shorter videos like this one, so it doesn't take months between releases for me, so I'll see you in the next one soon. I hope. Thanks for watching.